There she is. Hi. All right. Looks like you're on mute.
There we go.
Hi.
Hello.
Well, it's nice to see your face.
Yeah, nice to see your face.
So, you and I, we have never met, but I've been following you on social media for a while.
Uh-huh.
And you and I have actually run in some similar circles over the years.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Oh, that's your little dog. What's your dog's name again?
His name is Nico.
Nico. Hi, Nico. So you and I are both from West Hartford. That's kind of funny.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Yeah. And you went to KO Middle School?
Yeah,
Am I
and
right
half
on
a
that? And half of high school. Okay, so you and I must have just missed each other because I went to KO High School. I was class of 02.
I graduated high school in 99. That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just missed you there. But I thought that was kind of funny. And then you lived in New London for a long time, right?
I lived in New London for like a while. Yeah, like 5 years maybe. But
Cool.
when I was in Westbrook living at my mom's right after my divorce, and I was going to New London to cover their art scene for the New Haven Advocate before online really like got a deep hold where they made budget cuts and stuff.
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
That's how I
But
met people in New London, and then I moved there a few years later.
cool. I live there now.
How is New London doing?
it's fun. It's good. It's New London. It's a little slow, especially right now. Slower than normal. You know, it's people constantly are saying like, oh, one day New London's gonna finally live up to its potential that everyone's talking about. But you know, lots of empty storefronts.
Yeah,
Stuff like
there's a lot of artists in New London who also fit that description.
Absolutely. Myself included. You know, it's funny, you're, you know, a comic and a writer, and I'm super jealous of both because I secretly wish I was both. There was a time in high school where I was convinced I wanted to go to Conn College and study creative writing and be a comedy writer. And you can tell by my choice of professions that that didn't happen. So.
I mean, you could audit a creative writing class. You could probably find a free creative writing class. There's books on stand up. I mean, you could just go start doing it. Kind of revived the New London comedy scene, and then when I left, it continued on, and there's a bit of a scene there.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's great. On behalf of New London, I thank you for doing that.
Yeah, we're supposed to be at 33 just a few nights ago.
Yeah.
I ever ran a room, and I started a mic there in my first year, and they hadn't had comedy there since like the 70s, but it's the perfect room for comedy with, you know, being in a basement and having the low ceiling and like the narrow room. It was just perfect.
Yeah, Fire Trap. Sounds great.
Fire traps are the best for comedy.
Yeah, I'm not cool enough to hang out there. I don't drink PBR, so, you know. Yeah, you were gonna be here. I was gonna check you out. I was gonna come check it out, and then the stupid virus happened. So, bummer.
I am going to be having my vulnerability show next Tuesday on Zoom. I'm going to make
Hmm.
a Facebook event and then post it all to social media, the link to the Zoom event. So it's going to be obviously free, but I very much welcome donations. Zoom meetings longer than 40 minutes with more than 3 people are not free. And then
Yeah.
I put a lot of money into advertising the show in Connecticut, both the
Yeah.
shows and in LA that are all canceled. And also I have no job right now. And also I would
Yeah.
like to do the comics. So if people
Yes.
still have jobs and they come, I would very much appreciate donations.
That's wonderful. That's a good point.
I
Artists
also like,
shouldn't have to be free. Yeah.
yeah, my dad was like, you need to file for unemployment. And I looked it up and I'm like, oh, so it's like you need to find every employer you've had in the last 18 months. I'm like, so you need, I do a lot of one-nighters where I'm paid in cash. Like that means I need to find every mentally ill person who's booked me over 18 months, get their physical address so that maybe in a few months I can get a very small percentage of that. It's not going to happen. It
Right.
sounds more difficult than a college application. Like if you have a job, lose your job, that's easy to file for. It's still a bitch, but like to be a gig worker that has a million different employers, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. I give you a lot of credit. What you do is not easy, but I'm proud of you for following your dream. That's amazing. Very
Thanks. Yeah, I
cool.
mean, it's all fun and games until the world crashes down and you're like, maybe I should have had a corporate job where I'd still be working right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Well, the good thing about you is, you write so well. So, that's a huge skill. Speaking English and writing well in English, those are two things that are, you know, undervalued. They're very important. So, there's that.
Well, yeah, I have sold more articles this month than I think I did in all of 2018. So, or brought in more my writing income. So I have been making a little bit of money there. So it's not all bad. It's just like it's such a roller coaster right now, and the kind of like it's like I don't even know. I'll have a day where I'm totally chill, and it's usually like I don't watch the news that day, and I'm like everything is great. I'm being really productive. I'm just in a good space. Everything's going to be fine. And then like, I didn't get a good night's sleep. I wake up, I turn on the news and it's just, and then my dad's emailing me about, I need to file for unemployment. And like I just did my taxes from 2018, like back off. Like I'm an artist, like, and then I start freaking out about like, how am I going to pay my rent in August? And then I had to bring myself back to like the whole, like, well, do I have money today? Does my rent paid today? Do I have food in the fridge and gas in the car today? Because yeah,
Yeah.
and like I've managed to be okay every day up till now. Like there's no evidence that proves to me that I won't be okay and be able to handle whatever day when that day is today.
Right. Well, you sound very resilient, and I I'm impressed. It's not easy for sure. And a lot of people are certainly struggling right now or just struggling in general. So, um, you know. So, one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here is I wanted to talk to you about some of the cool stuff I've seen in your writing. In addition to the vulnerability show, you do um, talk about your own personal experiences and a lot of your writing pieces that I've seen on the Fix, and then in what is it, Work It Health?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I always appreciate your work. I work in prevention, and um, a lot of what I do is pretty dry. I'm a creative at heart, and I'm always wishing there was more fun, cooler ways to get people's attention about this stuff, because um, it's just so forgettable. I mean, I was just joking around earlier. I was reading a brochure for story time just to like see how that would go. Um, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, how am I supposed to make this funny? Because it's not. Addiction isn't funny. Um, People struggling with, substance use isn't funny. I mean, we can joke about it, but at its core, it's not funny. But I always appreciate, your very honest work and your viewpoints and your perspective. I think it's really important.
I think it's important to laugh at the most horrible and darkest things because those are the things that we need the tension release about the most. So I think anybody really can be funny.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tragedy plus time. It's funny when you've made it out. Like anything that happened to you is funny once you've made it out of that thing.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, humor is definitely my favorite coping skill for sure. So I have some really funny questions for you. Some of them are a little cliche, some of them are just goofy. But I'm curious. If weed was a person, what would you say to it?
I would just block it on all my social media. I don't need to talk to weed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything left to say.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool that other people can have a relationship with you and not have it turn toxic, but it doesn't work out for me. So like if weed texted me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to engage in that because I don't have to and it's not worth it.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And if booze was a person, what would you say to it?
Yeah, I ain't got shit to say to booze either. Like, it's in the past, it's like an old bad ex. Like, maybe I'd creep on booze on Facebook every once in a while. I'd talk to booze's other exes and find out if they knew what it was doing right now. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not with them anymore.
Yeah.
I might stay friends with them on Facebook, but only to creep. Or I might, use a fake Facebook to creep on them.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have anything nice to say to either of them anyway, for sure.
But it's not their fault, right? Like, it's just, I'm an alcoholic and it's not weed or booze's fault that I have an inability to moderate my use of them. I see tons of people use them with impunity. So like, it's not the drug or the alcohol's fault that I'm an alcoholic. It's just how it is. And it's just like, it's not my fault that I am this way, but it's my responsibility to manage the condition that I have.
Right. I also think a lot of people aren't honest with their relationship with either one of those either. I think there's a lot of crap going on. Like, from the prevention standpoint, this whole wine mom culture thing drives me absolutely insane. Like, I can't tell you the amount of stuff I've seen on Facebook about like joking about drinking and like using drinking as a coping skill, and like people think it's really funny, and I'm like, it's really not that funny. It's kind of pathetic. I mean, not to be super judgy, but if you've ever known anybody who struggled, like, that's not funny. Like, what was the one that I saw? It was like this roller coaster, and it said, the caption was like, me after my third bottle of wine. And I'm just like, it's not fucking funny. Like, I hope you're not on your third bottle of wine, like, just because you can't leave your house. But anyway.
I mean, I don't know. Like if people can drink 3 bottles of wine and still take care of their responsibilities and that's what they need to do, like, I don't know, that's on them. Like, it's up to everybody to say whether or not they have a problem, right? And it's up to everyone to diagnose themselves. And like, when the pain of changing becomes less than the pain of staying the same, people change. So I don't know. I try not to, I've gone through periods where I was like worried maybe about someone in my life that, is posting a lot on Instagram of them drinking at, like they have 3 kids and they may or may not be my family member. But you know, and then it's like, well, that's their life, you know? And it's like, there's always going to be something to look down on in someone if I'm looking for it, but it like starts within, like what other people want to do. If they want to, if that's how they want to cope, like that's not an option for me. So that's just how it is for me. And I like, yeah, whatever. Winemakers want to sell booze. People want to relax. Like, are they processing in the same way? Maybe not, but like, whatever, good for them. It's not my life, you know?
Right. Oh, well, you're way more mature than I am because I'm like kind of like judgy about it, I guess. I don't think it's that funny, like the whole wine mom culture thing. I'm just like, find another coping skill.
I mean,
come
I just don't pay attention to it. And, you know, if I'm like worried about my own family member, I just have to be like, well, you know, I hope they're okay. And there's just nothing that I can do. So it's just a complete, like, yeah, it's whatever. We're gonna notice stuff like that, but I don't have the energy to put my energy into like what other people are doing or trying to manage how other people want to run their lives.
on.
Like,
Right.
I don't get close to people that drink and use a lot, and that was like a big part of when I moved to LA because I've stayed sober since I moved here, and it's just I built my life around recovery. My best friends are just like my best friends that happen to be sober in the program, and
Hmm.
I just like maybe I have a few friends that smoke weed, and I'm not super close with anybody, and it's like they're fine. If it was I hung out with one person that smoked weed like the way that I used to smoke weed, but like almost worse, like alcoholically. And they told me their mom was a crackhead. And I'm like, that makes sense because they smoke weed like crack. Like more often than I vape, they were smoking. And so I'm like, all right, I just stopped responding to that person. Like that's not something that I want to be a part of.
Right.
And there's so many people that are doing what I'm doing that have similar interests, and you know people that aren't. Like that's why I wrote an article. I interviewed 4 people about marijuana, recreational marijuana being essential, because at first I was like, well, what the fuck, but then I was like, well, you know, let me investigate this and seek to understand rather than condemn. And it was very eye-opening because, you know, I have a friend that has lupus. She doesn't have a medical license because a medical license costs money. You don't really save much. And it's so easy because of all the recreational dispensaries, it's just not worth it. Or other friends are like,
Right.
they're using it to sleep, they're coping with anxiety, and like it doesn't interfere with their life in the way that it interfered with my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I definitely, I was super excited to read that, and I thought you did a really great job with it because, it's one of the first things I thought of. I'm like, why the hell is, alcohol considered essential right now? And people are like, oh, so people don't go in withdrawal. I'm like, okay, like fine, that's one thing, but I mean, it's tricky for me. I'm glad that you were like really balanced about it. So, another cheesy question for you. Um, Adult sober Rebecca, what would you have liked to have taught, or what would you like to tell teen Rebecca?
Oh, that you're going to get through it. You know, every horrible thing that I've been through, that I've experienced, like it's all given me. I mean, I just wrote a memoir of stories. It's only like I have so many, I have at least 2 more books of stories just like off the top of my head, like at least another one without even digging. So I wouldn't have all these stories. I don't know. Maybe I'd be a comedian or a writer who writes about politics or talks about pop culture or some other thing that anybody could do, but only I can tell my stories. And like right now, like I've been in a situation where I, you know, crashed my car, lost my boyfriend, got fired from my job, had no money in the bank, had rent hanging over my head. It was the middle of winter, all in the same day. And then I had to like figure out a way out of that, and I survived, and I was never on the streets. You know, I've had periods where I couldn't do comedy because I was in rehab, or I had a DUI, or you know, some horrible shit happened. There were periods where I was so depressed in New York that I didn't leave my apartment for a whole winter. Like all these horrible, seemingly horrible things become a gift. Like everything is a gift, even the darkest things, because then you have, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm used to setting my own schedule. I've been isolated before. Like I've been in situations where I was alone, but I didn't have the huge network of people that I care about that care about me to talk to virtually. So, I've been through worse than this, and it's a good, thank you for asking, because it's a good reminder when I have like a moment where I haven't slept well in a few days and my dad stressed me out and he's just trying to help, but it's like, you get kind of that regression into like, he offered to help me financially and now he's pushing me to do all these other things. And I'm like, are these connected? Like, I want to know if it gets to that point, I can cash in on your offer of help, but I also don't feel comfortable filing for unemployment. And if it's going to be contingent, then like, I don't know what to do about that.
Right. Yeah, you're a tough cookie. Love that about you. Don't even know you, but I love that about you. I don't know if parenting is on your radar, if that's something in your life plan or something you're open to. Do you think that your experiences will affect that if and when that ever happens for you?
I mean, I'm 38 years old. I've had several abortions. Kids were never something that I wanted. I have a dog, a foster cat, and a kitten on the way. I have 3 beautiful nieces. Like, no, I'm not interested. Like I'd rather have my art, but
Yeah.
I don't look at my kids and be like, you need to do this thing that I never got to do. Like, why don't I just not have kids and do the thing? There's certainly enough people, no matter how many people coronavirus kills, we'll still have enough people on the planet. Like, we're not experiencing people. So,
Right. So minus
like,
that situation, yeah.
good for
Yeah.
them. I can imagine it. Sometimes I get irritated when my dog wakes me up too early to go outside.
Yeah, totally. What about your nieces? What will you say to them about drugs and alcohol, or nothing at all? What will your cautionary tale be?
I mean, I don't really think it's my place. If all I can do is live as an example, and if like one of them, alcoholism does run in my family, and if one of them does experience those kind of issues, I just hope that they know that they can reach out to me. Like, I'd like to be in a place financially and career wise where by the time my oldest niece becomes a teenager, if she starts really fucking up, she can come live with me for a summer and I'll deal with her,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that's all you can do is like live as an example, is attraction, not promotion, right? Because what's
Right.
true for you doesn't necessarily mean it's true for them. We all have to find our own way.
Right.
And all they need to know is if they know when they're old enough, Auntie Becca used to drink and she doesn't anymore, which they'll know, like I'm at a family party when I go home and everybody's drinking wine and that's a big thing and I'm not drinking wine, like I don't even need to say anything. They'll notice. And if they ever have a question about it, they'll be like, oh, Auntie Becca doesn't drink wine. I wonder why that is. And that's for them. But I'm here and available should they want that.
That's terrific. That's the spirit. That's nice. I throw the dare book at everybody. Like I talk to my cousins and I'm like, yeah, don't fucking do drugs. Like I'll fucking kill you.
If you told me not to do something, now I want to do that thing. I might not have even been thinking about that thing.
Yeah.
And then look in the closet and I'm like, why? What's in the closet? Why don't you want me to? Is it something that you're hiding from me? So I just stay very aware of like the rebellious nature, especially of teenagers and young adults. And,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we got to connect. I thank you for answering some of my sillier questions. Lastly, one last thing. What's the best thing about being sober?
I mean, there's just so many best things. I'd say having real relationships and knowing that I can show up for people and that I can show up for my own life and that life keeps getting better even when things get hard and that I keep getting better and like knowing that I've grown up, knowing that I've been able to grow up so much because of recovery and like become an independent human being that doesn't lurch from crisis to crisis anymore.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you rock. Thank you so much for joining me. This was fun. Maybe we can do it again sometime. I really appreciate it. And I will keep an eye out for your vulnerability show.
Absolutely. Please come. Love to have you.
Alrighty. Okay. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.